Welcome to Sportpen.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving headfirst into the extraordinary story of Billie Jean King.
An absolute icon.
Yeah, exactly. Not just the wins and losses, though those are impressive, but really the key moments, that drive she had, and those performances that just changed the game.
Right. And we're looking beyond the trophies too, aren't we? Thinking about what actually defines greatness. How people like King can sort of rewrite the whole story of sports and inspire, well, basically everyone.
So where do we start? The early days. The 60s, maybe?
Let's set the scene there. The 1960s, it was definitely a time of significant change.
Socially,
yeah. And that started to trickle down, you could say, into women's sports. More acceptance maybe at high school and college levels. You had way more women going to college, showing off academic and athletic talent.
But I bet there were still some pretty strong ideas about what women should be doing sports-wise.
Oh, absolutely. Big time. There was still this societal push, towards sports that fit those quote-unquote feminine roles.
Right.
Like if you look at the College of Worcester back then, their female athletes, they called them lassies or Scotties.
Lassies, okay.
Yeah. And they weren't always seen as like serious competitors. Often the view was sports were, well, good for staying in shape and maybe meeting guys.
Wow. So not exactly the high-performance environment we think of now.
Not across the board, no. But what's cool is even with those limits, the athletes and coaches there, the women, they were pushing.
Fighting for more.
Yeah, demanding more chances, better competition.
Yeah.
Actively pushing back.
You love to see that.
Yeah.
Did it work? Did they get anywhere?
They did. It paid off. By 1965, Worcester got its first 2 women's varsity teams.
Okay. Which sports?
Basketball and field hockey. And they weren't just tokens either. That field hockey team. In 67,
Yeah.
undefeated season. The college's only undefeated varsity team that year.
Get out. That's fantastic.
That's right. And they added varsity volleyball that same year. Started with a winning record too. So things were definitely shifting, even at that level.
That's a great snapshot of the grassroots change happening.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out. The global stage, the Billie Jean King Cup, that name carries so much weight now.
It really does. And it's interesting. It started as the Fed Cup, right? Kind of the women's version of the Davis Cup. But it's just grown massively. It's now the largest international women's team sport event, period. Over 100 nations compete every year.
That scale is incredible. Shows how far women's tennis has come globally.
Totally. And the U.S. has always been a major force in it.
You have a good record, right?
Record 18 titles since it started back in '63. Just shows the depth of American women's tennis over decades.
So how did it actually become the Billie Jean King Cup? Why her name?
Well, that happened officially in September 2020. And honestly, look at her record in the competition. It's kind of mind-blowing.
How many did she win?
10 times. 10. 7 as a player, 4 as a captain. She's even player captain once.
Wow. 10 wins. That warrants getting the cup named after you, I'd say.
You think, yeah. That kind of sustained success and leadership, it's just monumental.
And they've tweaked the format recently, too, haven't they?
They have. Since 2021, there's this new finals format. They're calling it the World Cup of Tennis.
Catchy.
Yeah, it culminates in this intense 6-day final tournament with the top 12 teams.
So more focused, higher stakes, maybe.
Exactly. You wonder how that kind of concentration affects the global buzz around it,
Definitely amps it up, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so King's influence. It's obviously way bigger than just her playing record. Let's talk about her as a champion for equality. The original 9. That sounds important.
Oh, it was massive. A real turning point. This was 1970. Billie Jean King, Carrie Melville, Christy Pigeon, Nancy Ritchie, Valerie Ziegenfuss, the original 9.
Right.
They took this incredibly brave stand. Basically, they were protesting the huge gaps in prize money and just the lack of opportunities for women in pro tennis compared to men.
So they were challenging the establishment, the U.S. Lawn Tennis Association.
Directly, yeah. They put their necks on the line.
What was the goal? What did they want?
King put it really clearly. Their vision, she said, was simple. Any girl good enough should have a place to play professionally and actually make a living from it.
Sounds reasonable now, but back then...
Back then it was radical. The other women talked about just blatant discrimination, especially the prize money. The differences were just shocking.
It's hard to even picture that level of inequality being so open.
It is. And you have to appreciate the courage it took. They risked everything, their careers, by breaking away like that.
And King was leading the charge.
Absolutely. Her leadership was key. She was the glue holding that group together, pushing them forward.
Incredible conviction. And that really paved the way, didn't it? Which leads us, I guess, to the most famous example, the Battle of the Sexes.
Yep. The ultimate showdown. September 20, 1973, against Bobby Riggs.
That match was more than just tennis, wasn't it?
Oh, way more. It was a cultural event, a flashpoint. King was motivated, really, to just shut down Riggs and his pretty baseless claims about male superiority in tennis.
And people watched. Boy, did they watch.
The numbers are still kind of unbelievable. Primetime TV, 50 million in the U.S., maybe 90 million worldwide.
Biggest tennis audience ever.
Still stands as one of the most watched televised sporting events, certainly for tennis.
Yep.
It just captured something in the air at the time.
There was some talk later, though, wasn't there, about Riggs maybe not trying his hardest, throwing the match.
Yeah, those rumors popped up, mostly connected to speculation about gambling debts he might have had. But King herself has always been really adamant. She believes he played to win. She said she'd seen players tank matches before, and that wasn't what Riggs was doing that day.
Interesting. But the speculation sticks around.
Yeah.
And the match itself, it definitely lived on in culture.
For sure. TV movie back in 2001 when Billie beat Bobby.
Yeah.
Then a documentary in 2013, and that big feature film in 2017 with Emma Stone and Steve Carell.
Right, I saw that one.
And King herself wrote about it in her book, Pressure is a Privilege, reflecting on it all.
It really cemented her place, didn't it? Not just an athlete, but a cultural force.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift back to the court itself. What made her so good at tennis?
Well, she had this incredible competitive fire, first off, but also a really smart tactical brain.
How did that play out?
She was known for being super aggressive, always rushing the net. Plus, she was incredibly quick, great court sense, almost knew where the ball was going.
Net rusher.
Okay.
Any specific shots?
Her backhand volley was apparently lethal, just deadly. And her overheads were super consistent, reliable weapons.
So she liked to take charge, pressure opponents up close.
Totally. That was her game. And a big moment for her development was actually a trip she took down under.
Australia.
Yeah, in 1964.
Yeah.
She got to train with the legendary coach Mervyn Rose. And she practiced with the best Margaret Court, Rod Laver.
Wow, rubbing shoulders with legends.
Exactly. That kind of intense environment, practicing against the absolute top players, that must have been huge for honing her skills. A real game changer for her.
Makes sense. That intense focus pays off.
Yeah.
And, that fight, that determination, it didn't stop when she stopped playing competitively, did it?
Right.
Her work with Title IX's huge.
Absolutely crucial, yeah. Beyond the court, she was just tireless pushing for equality. Title IX, that landmark law stopping sex discrimination in education programs, including sports, that get federal funding.
He was a big voice for that.
A huge voice. She actually testified on Capitol Hill, really hammered home how vital it was for giving girls and women a fair shot in sports.
And the results speak for themselves, right? The impact of Title IX was massive.
Oh, the numbers are just staggering. After Title IX passed, girls' participation in high school sports went up over 1,000%.
1,000%.
Yeah, and in college sports, over 600%. It's a direct line from that law and the advocacy work of people like King.
That is incredible, tangible change. And she's still at it, isn't she? I heard she was involved with the new Women's Pro Hockey League, the PWHL.
Yes, she played a big role in helping get the PWHL launched. She really stresses the financial side, building a solid foundation so these leagues can actually last and thrive.
Smart. It's not just about the game, it's the business, too.
Exactly. And she's a huge believer in how sports build leaders, especially women leaders in business. There's research, right, showing tons of women in the C-suite played sports.
I've heard that. The skills translate. Teamwork, resilience.
All of it.
Oh, yeah.
She talks about it in her autobiography, All In, how sports give you tools for navigating the business world. And she puts her money where her mouth is, her investment firm, BJK Enterprises.
Yeah.
They've invested in lots of women's sports leagues and teams. She's actively backing their growth.
Really walking the walk. And it all ties back, doesn't it, to that cup being named after her. It's such a symbol.
It really is a perfect tribute to her lasting impact globally. And she's gotten so many honors over the years, like a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It recognizes contributions way beyond just tennis.
Definitely. Now, we've talked a lot about her public triumphs, her advocacy, but she faced some really tough personal stuff in the public eye, too, right?
That's really important to remember. Yeah, it wasn't all smooth sailing. She faced immense personal challenges, like being outed without her consent, having her abortion made public.
Things that are deeply personal suddenly becoming public knowledge, that must have been incredibly difficult.
Unimaginably difficult, I think. It shows her vulnerability, but also the intense scrutiny she was under. And, her later advice to Martina Navratilova about controlling her own coming out story, it shows real empathy, born from her own experience.
Understanding the importance of owning your own narrative.
Exactly. And through all that, through everything, her commitment to fighting for equality never wavered. She says herself she'll be fighting for it for the rest of her life.
It's just an incredible story, Billie Jean King.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just counting Grand Slams, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a story about breaking barriers, demanding fairness, and fundamentally changing the landscape of sports forever.
Yeah, that relentless spirit on court and off. It's such a powerful reminder, isn't it, that greatness isn't just talent. It's about using your platform.
Using that platform to push for a better, more equitable world. That's the legacy.
Thanks for listening to Sportpen.